Hey, good morning, Walleye Wisdom watchers. This is Gary Speicher reporting from the Big Boy Toy Show up in Dubuque, Iowa at the Five Flag Center in downtown Dubuque with our good friend Tommy Skarlis. We grabbed him from the sports show, and Tommy, I think you had a couple tips you wanted to offer today to our watchers.
Well, you know, I get a lot of questions, and a lot of the stuff that I try to do as far as these tips are concerned are to hit anglers right where most of the questions are at, Gary.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I get asked a bunch is, Tommy, do you fish with Superline? And of course I do. I fish with a lot of super lines, and you know, to kind of differentiate between them, not all of them are different. In fact, I would try to compare what I do in walleye fishing and line usage to, say, like what a golfer would use his golf clubs for.
Okay.
In other words, I have a different line for almost every different application. For vertical jigging, I prefer to use super lines, and in that instance, I like to use a 10-pound test, 2-pound diameter spider wire stealth. It's coated, it's high-vis. It's got this bright green or yellowish chartreuse color.
Yeah.
And it's deadly as far as hook setting ability, especially if I'm vertical jigging, and because of the thinner diameter, it's going to cut through the current a lot better. For pitching though, or casting crankbaits where you really got to whip it out there, that's when I'm going to switch to a little bit different setup. I'm going to use pretty much the same reel,
okay,
which I think we've got a Pfluger President Series here.
Yep.
But I'm going to change from this St. Croix Legend Elite to a Legend Extreme, which has got a split handle and a knob on the end so you can get the leverage for pitching. And then the line is Fireline. And the reason that I use Fireline instead of spider wire stealth, in that instance, the Fireline seems to come off the reel a lot smoother, doesn't seem to ding up or get a bird's nest. In our case, it'd be called a professional overrun.
Yeah.
But in any event, you know, I can cast the crankbaits or pitch the crankbaits a lot further with, say, like that Fireline. And there I don't use a HighVis line, or as far as a really high-vis line, I use a fairly high-vis line above the water, which is the Fireline Crystal. That shows up good above the water, but it's somewhat translucent. It's a little bit more invisible in the water in case the fish follows the crankbait. And, you know, just one last thing is, I get asked often about drags. You know, what kind of a drag does that spinning reel use? Mm-hmm. Well, you notice here I've got a St. Croix rod, which is a fairly high-end rod, and this President reel is not a real expensive reel. It's under $100. I would rather have my money into the rod than the reel. Mm-hmm. So then that way I get a good, decent spinning reel, especially for the money, and I crank down the drag so that when I get a fish, it may not be able to move much drag. I switch to back reeling. And the last tip I want to impart on you is, if you want to get good at back reeling, Gary, you got to do it in instances where the money or the fillets aren't on the line.
Oh yeah.
Where you catch a carp, you
Yep.
catch a sheephead,
Yep.
catfish,
Yep.
maybe a walleye that's in the slot that you can't keep.
Oh yeah.
You back reel that bad boy, and that's where you get your practice at as far as the drag is concerned. So use these tips and use them with walleye wisdom.
Yeah, and you'll catch more fish, but some great tips from Tommy Skarlis this morning. And Tommy, we'll look forward to catching up with you through the season. We'll keep adding tips as we go.
I always like getting walleye wisdom from the walleye wisdom guys.
There we go. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks for watching.